I am a firm believer that every child is a gift and that it's our job to help them reach their full potential. Even the most consistent children have days when the world looks different to them.
Welcome everyone, this is Ekaterina with Trust Me Mom channel. Today I would like to welcome to my show Miss Kathy Dugat. Miss Dugat has over 30 years of experience working with kids in private and public schools, and she's very passionate and enthusiastic about kids. In fact, I met Miss Dugat through my daughter's school a few years ago, and I haven't met a teacher, an educator so passionate, so creative, so enthusiastic. I definitely couldn't miss an opportunity to invite her to my show and ask her for some bits of wisdom. And I would like to pass an opportunity to talk to Ms. Dugat and maybe introduce herself more, tell about her education, about her passion, and what even made her interested in this career.
What a treat it is to be here and to get to visit with you. I have wanted to be a teacher my entire life. My father very much wanted to raise a strong, independent young woman, and my mom kept saying, "She'll do fine, she'll do fine, she'll do fine." And my dad said, "But she needs to be able to support herself." And so, sure enough, I went off to college, and knowing that I loved children, but wanting to do the right thing and be able to make my place in the world. And so I started off as an accounting major, and I made an A in my first accounting course, and a B in my second one, and a C in my third one. And then I changed majors to education, and I have been a happy camper since. I am a proud graduate of Texas A&M. That's where I got my foundation, and then went on to get graduate degrees at Central Missouri State University. But the most important classroom experience that I have, the place that taught me the most, is being in the classroom with the children. There is, you can sit in a lecture hall day in and day out for years and years and years. You can read every textbook there is, but until you get in a classroom, you're really not learning what children need. And that 30 odd years in the classroom is what has developed me into this person sitting before you today. I am passionate about kiddos. I love to get inside their heads and see what makes them tick. No two of them are alike. You have to be ready as a teacher or a parent or a grandparent to you have to have a million resources literally at your disposal. My garage is full of toilet paper tubes and dice of every size and variety and color and letters and every kind of shape you can imagine, because you never know what's going to make a kiddo tick on any given day. And you have to be willing to be flexible. You have to pick up on that and be willing to meet them where they are. I am a firm believer that every child is a gift and that it's our job to help them reach their full potential. So, thank you for inviting me to be here today. I hope that I can share a nugget or two of inspiration or experience that will help someone along the way.
For sure, and you definitely helped our family a lot. So we're really thankful for your creative strategies and how much love you showed to our family.
It's a treat, always, always. It's so much fun to see the light come on in the kiddos' eyes, and to see them relax and realize that they can do things. And that's what's important in life, whether you're 6 years old or 60 years old or somewhere in between, to realize that you can do it and not to be afraid to try. The tools and resources that are important for us to give our children are going to be useful in school for sure, but we're doing them a disservice if we just limit them to using them in school. What I believe is that we need to fill children's toolboxes with resources that are going to allow them to be successful in life in general. I like to say that it's my job as an educator or as a parent to create an environment that allows children to grow into creative, articulate, confident, compassionate problem solvers that have a passion for learning in life. And each of those things is teachable. We teach children to be compassionate by modeling compassion for them, by putting them in situations where they get to practice being compassionate. We teach children how to be creative by putting them in situations where we ask them to be creative. The same goes with being articulate. We know that they're great thinkers, but it's tricky to get those thoughts communicated effectively. And that's our job, is to give them opportunities to practice doing that, so that in the end we have competent, creative, compassionate, articulate problem solvers who have a passion for learning in life. We need to do that first and foremost by putting children at ease. And that's where I'd like to start, is just by visiting for a minute about how to put children at ease, if that's all right with you.
Oh, yes, please.
So, whenever children walk into new situations, whether it's a classroom, a tutoring session, or a doctor's visit, whatever it is, immediately their defenses go up. The anxiety levels rise, the stress level rises. And as that anxiety and the stress level rise, so does the wall. And pretty soon they have walled themselves off to protect themselves from whatever is coming at them, whatever that is down there that they don't know how to anticipate. We want to help children get over that. We want to help them, give them some tools and resources so that they can relax, so that they can walk into novel situations and not be stressed, not be anxious. Whenever we get nervous or anxious, we actually cut off the thinking part of our brain from the blood flow, and it all every bit of our essence, our energy, everything focuses on fight and flight. And if a child is in that fight or flight mode, then we cannot put information into their little brains. They're going to fight it. They're not going to be able to relax and retain it. So our first job is to get them relaxed, to get them confident. And so there are ways that we do that. We can start off by making sure that children know that they're safe. And there are 100 ways that you can do that. You, as a parent, can create a code word with a child so that if the child is feeling stressed or uncomfortable, they can tell you the code word, and then you know they need a little extra assurance. As an educator in a classroom, we can do the same thing. We can have a code word. We can have a place that the child can go, so that I see out of the corner of my eye that they need a little extra love and TLC today. We can make sure that they know that they are respected. We can make sure that they know that they're going to be listened to. There's a wonderful philosophy out there called conscious discipline that, if you have not checked into, I encourage you to do so, that is based on the science behind children feeling safe, feeling non-threatened, and about how important it is for them to be able to relax in order to learn and be at their very best. So we create that safe environment first and foremost by us, we parents, we adults, teachers, adults, parents, doing our homework first. What happens frequently is that we have a child who's in meltdown for whatever reason, and we say to ourselves, okay, I got to do something about this. And we make a snap decision right then. Yes, I understand. We've got to make decisions in the moment to get our child over that hump. But it is so much more effective if you can have a plan in place before you get to that moment, before that happens, so that when that crisis comes at you full blast unexpectedly, because you never know when it's going to pop up or what's going to trigger it, you've already got a plan in place. So it's just like a fire drill. When the buzzer goes off, you know to line up, put your eyes on the teacher, and get out of the building as quickly as you can. So whenever a real fire were to happen, you would know immediately what to do, and it's instinctive. So we as adults in our children's lives need to come up with that plan ahead of time. We need to keep the plan simple. We need to make sure that we communicate it clearly, and that's it. The plan has to be infinitely flexible, but infinitely concise. So, for instance, in my classroom, I had 4 rules, just 4 rules, period. No matter if we were in science class or on the playground. So, my 4 rules are that I asked the children to make 4 promises to me. They had to I promised to be safe. I promised to be a good friend. I promise to always do my best, and I promise to be a problem solver. Now I've got 4 things that we recite to each other every day during openings circle, and then whenever a situation arises, I can take the children back to one of those 4 promises. So if there's an incident on the playground and someone has their feelings hurt, then the conversation starts by saying, are you being a good friend? That's one of our promises. If you have a child who's in meltdown mode, you say to the child, you promised to do your best, or in our family, we promise to do our best. Are you doing your best right now? What do you need in order to shift from what's happening right now to doing your best? Same thing with being a problem solver. If you're having a meltdown because you can't get your shoes tied, or because you don't know what shirt you want to wear, or because your homework's not turning out right, then the words that I use are, I promise to be a problem solver. You're a problem solver. How can we address this problem that's frustrating you right now? And that in and of itself, teaching children to be problem solvers, is a really, really big step. So if we set those rules ahead of time, we keep them clear, concise, and flexible, clear, concise, and flexible, then we have a better chance of helping children remember those tools and being able to put them to use in a variety of circumstances. Does that make
Yes,
sense?
definitely. And are we talking about kindergarten age, or where would that apply? What would be the age range?
So for a 2-year-old, you've got vegetables on the tray, and they want ice cream. So then you say to them, "You have a problem. You have to stay healthy. That's your job. So let's eat our vegetable, and then we can have ice cream. We're going to solve this problem." For a preschooler, the problem might be that your friend doesn't want to share with you. So then you say to the preschooler, how can I help you be a better friend? You promise to be a good friend. And that can either go for the aggressor or for the child who has been wronged. The same rule applies. You don't have to have a different standard, a different rule for either one. The child who's being the aggressor, who is hoarding the toy and won't share it, then comes up with solutions to how they might want to share. They might want to have a private turn first and then share in a moment. And then we have to find, it goes back to my point about being articulate. We have to help the child find a way to communicate that. Elementary school child, same situation. You've got a problem with homework that you don't know how to solve, and you're really frustrated and you don't know what to do about it. Then we say, how do we be we're asking you to be a problem solver. Let's talk about ways that we can solve this problem. High school kids, same thing. So my husband, same thing, all the way. Don't tell Bill that, but yes. So I promise to keep you safe. I promise to be a good friend. I promise to do my best, and I promise to be a problem solver. Hey, if I can promise to do my best and be a good friend and be a problem solver to my husband, then we're going to be fine in this world, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, and I definitely saw you implementing it in action when you tutor kids. So I know sometimes you may work privately with children, and we had
Yes.
that experience. And I remember our first lesson, my daughter kept running away, and I was pretty scared that you'll turn us down because, in my view, her behavior was pretty unacceptable and wasn't very effective. And you called me, "We had a great day. I was so impressed. She turned around. She eventually did some work." And I want you to tell me more about all the magic you're doing with kids. Basically, tools and strategies you're employing to put them at ease. And also, a lot of parents do need private tutoring and how they can make those decisions, how they can help their children. Any guidance here will be greatly appreciated.
Every child is different, literally. And as a teacher or a parent, it's our job to be prepared for any circumstances, to have as many tools and resources at our disposal as we possibly can, because we don't know what to expect from any given child on any given day. Even the most consistent children have days when the world looks different to them, and we have to be ready for that. We have to honor that. Heavens, I do. I'm not the same any 2 days in a row. That would be awfully boring if I were, I think. So children come into tutoring or a classroom or any novel situation with a level of fear and anxiety. And that causes stress. And then to defend themselves, then they do one of two things. They either act up or they go silent. And either of those requires us to be responsive. A child very much from the day they're born wants to be in control of their own world. And so we want to assure them that they are going to be able to make some choices. I'm not going to force them to do anything except be safe, be a problem solver, do your best, and be a good friend. That's all I'm going to ask you to do today. And then if they're curled up in a ball under the table, I can look at them and say, golly gee, it looks to me like you're a little anxious. I'm going to keep you safe today. That's my job. I'm going to keep you safe. And if you feel safer under the table, then I'm going to come down there and I'm going to work with you down there until you are comfortable enough to come up to the top of the table. If you are going to feel safer sitting over in the corner away by yourself where there's not as much distraction, then I'm going to come over there, or I'm going to give you something that you can work on in that space. I say to the child, then we're going to promise to each other to do our best. What can I do for you so that you can show me your best? And that might be giving them crayons to use instead of markers, or instead of a pencil with a sharp point. It might be giving them unlined paper instead of lined paper. It might be not asking them to read out of a book, but instead pulling those words that I want the child to work with and putting them on index cards or making a puzzle out of them. So the point is to create options. Children are already feeling stressed or anxious, and the more you limit their world, the more trapped they feel. Giving them options, acceptable options, empowers them and gives them an out. They don't have to write a story with a pencil. They could use a crayon. But the expectation is there that the story gets written. They get to choose whether they use lined paper or unlined paper, but the expectation is that words will go on the paper. So you've done your homework ahead of time, and you have prepared at your disposal markers or crayons or pencils, so that those are the options that are laid out there. And if the child says to you, I don't want any of these options, I want to use a paintbrush, then you say to them, I will put that on my notes and I will have a paintbrush ready for you next week. But for this week, for this moment right now, you have three options. What do you want to choose? And then we have to give them time. World that is right now, right now, right now, right now. And we move at that pace. Children are have this constant battle going on inside their body all the time, and we have to give them time to work through that process. Not responding is helpful. If we say to them, I've given you three options, you may choose crayons, markers, or pencils, and then they don't choose immediately, and we say to them, come on, I gave you a choice, pick, and they don't respond. And then the next thing we say is, are you listening to me? I said you have three options. In every time we add another layer of instruction or even just more words, we are clouding the water and making it harder for them to make a decision. It's our job to think through options ahead of time, be prepared to offer those options, and then once we offer them, to be quiet and give the child time to process and figure out what the option is going to be. Now, if I were listening to this as a parent, I'm going to say, how in the world can I anticipate every option that's possibly going to come out? You can't. But if you've got those simple rules in place, I can give you, then you can fall back on them. You don't want any of these three things to write with? Okay, I understand. But we've got a problem. You've got a paper that you need to write. You have words that need to go on a piece of paper. How are we going to solve that problem? And then I'd like to talk to you about my problem solving strategy that I have found works beautifully with kiddos, especially if you teach it to them ahead of time. And it's very quick and very efficient, as is everything we do with kids. You would think, as many words as I say, that I don't know how to be quick and efficient, but quick and efficient is the best thing with kids. So, problem solving strategy. 1, identify the problem. And that's hard. A child is frustrated about something, and they get frustrated about being frustrated, and they even forget what the problem was. So when we teach children to solve problems, we need, first of all, to get them to be able to identify the problem. Whether that's, I didn't want chocolate ice cream, I wanted strawberry, or I don't want to do this homework, period, or this is really scary and I don't want to try it on my own. They need to be able to name that problem. And they may need coaching to help to define that little problem. The problem is never as big as we think it is. If you think about it, the problem is probably tiny and very specific. But our anxiety and our frustration build and build and build very quickly so that it seems huge. So 1, name the problem. What do you want to happen or change? Number 2, what tools do you need to make that change happen? Number 3, how can I help you get started? Listen to me say, how can I help you get started? We don't need to solve the problem right off the bat. All we need to do is get to work. How many times have you started to solve a problem? You thought you had a plan, and then you had to switch gears in the middle of what you were doing to actually get the problem solved, right?
Right.
So kids jump to the end. They think, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I've got to get all the way over to here. And that's too big of a gap for them. We need to teach them to just start, take the first step, and let the rest of it unfold. Children may need help rounding up resources. That's the second step in that plan, and that's our job. Then, once we give them the resources, then it's their job to put those into work. There's another thing I want to talk about right quick that goes right along with this, and that is children. How many times has your daughter come to you and said, I don't know what to do? I don't understand this.
Yes.
And that's it. And she won't, and you say, well, let me help you. I don't know what to do. I don't understand this. So my favorite words for children when they come to me with those kinds of comments are, I say to them, ask a better question. Oh, what part? And they'll say to you, but I don't understand. I'll say, you understand something about this. What do you understand? My teacher wants me to do this. Bingo. So it's not optional then. I have to turn it in tomorrow. Ah, that's another thing you know. What is it you don't understand about this? And then that gives us the parameters then to step in and assist them where they really need help. There again, it's helping children avoid jumping from that moment of confusion to utter panic and giving them some tools and resources to use to keep them from slipping into that panic mode. So, be a problem solver. That means identify the problem. What tools or resources do you need to make the change that you need to happen? And how can I help you take the first step? And then when they come to you and say, I don't know what to do, I don't understand, say, ask a better question.
So you ask the child, ask a better question?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
Okay.
So, and the and I do that because the child is instantly looking for the finished product. And they don't need the finished product yet. It's not time for the finished product yet. We have to go through a bunch of steps before we get to the finished product. So it's logical that they don't understand the finished product. We need to start with step one over here. So ask me a better question. What is it that you don't understand? If it's a math problem, do you understand that number that's on the paper? What does 25 mean? Okay, great. You understand 25 means 2 tens and 5 ones. Do you understand the symbol that's on that paper? What does that symbol right there mean? That means put things together. Bingo. Then what is it that you don't understand? Well, I don't know what to do with this 7 on the top and the 6 on the bottom. Oh, now I know where to help you. We need to talk about carrying. We need to talk about adding those, putting the ones and carrying to the tens. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, definitely, definitely. And you hit the nail on the head with the math example. That's what we're struggling with right now. And maybe you can be a bit more specific with this example. I know, again, I'm not alone. A lot of parents have that issue. When your child knows they have to go to school, but they don't like it, or at least some subjects are hard, like math, and they're just dreading it. They're like, oh, I can't stand it. I don't want to do it. I don't like it. Do you have any advice how to handle that?
So we, I am big on teamwork, right? And in my 4 premises, We promise to do our best, and we promise to be good friends. In your family, you could say, instead of being good friends, you could say being part of the team. Well, we all have to do things as part of the team that we're
Right.
not excited about. I have to do laundry. I have to clean the bathrooms. I'm not excited about it, but it's what I'm doing for the team. I have to go to work. I would much rather stay home and do something fun, read a book, but I can't. I have to go to work. So your child then is a part of the team, and building up that team spirit, building team ownership will help you to help your child understand that it is their job to go to school. It's important for parents to listen and listen carefully. What is it that they don't like? Ask a better question. I hear you say you don't want to go to school today, but I need you to help me understand that. What is it that you are worried about or that you don't want to do at school today? And get them to narrow that comment to something that you can actually address. We can't address, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to work. Okay, well, we can't do it. That's not an option. So then let's figure out what the problem is so that we can address that specific problem. And then once you get into the rhythm of this conversation, where your child knows that you're going to keep asking that question, ask a better question, ask a better question. That helps your child to narrow their thinking process so that they can eventually do it very quickly and efficiently and can come get to the heart of what's really bugging them. And then that will give you the heads up about the specific thing that you might be able to address with them or to give their teacher a heads up about at school.
Right, right. Oh, that's a good answer. Thank you. Another question I have, though, as we talk about being on a team and they see adult responsibilities, and they know adults don't often enjoy their work, and it's kind of, or for example, if I'll be cleaning dishes, I don't show a ton of enthusiasm doing that. So as she's watching us, she'll be like, oh, I don't want to grow up. I kind of don't like that responsibility, and starts panicking that it's irreversible, that she is aging, growing, and eventually she'll have to do it. And right now we're in the stage where, like, I don't want to be an adult. I'm afraid I will have my birthday. It gets me closer to that older age.
Yes, yes. So being part of a team is hard work. I mean, it just is. We have to work at it. We have to practice. That's why if you're on a basketball team or a softball team or anything, any kind of team, you have to practice. If you're in scouts, that's a team, and you don't just get to go on the campouts and have fun. You got to meet every week and practice to get ready for the campouts. If you're gonna ride horses, you can't just go straight to the jumps. You've got to learn to handle all the tack and to saddle the horse and then to take care of the grooming and before you ever get into the arena. So it's hard to do that tedious behind the scenes work, but it's important to do. And it's important for us as parents to realize that just because a child is born into our family doesn't necessarily make us flow smoothly like a family all the time. In a classroom, it's the same way. We have to work hard to establish those connections. We have to work hard and be very intentional about creating fun times, non stressful times, as well as tackling tough times together. So if you've got a child who, I mean, they are little sponges, and they truly, there's no way to escape. How many hours did I spend in the bathroom with the door locked and the shower running and me sitting on the floor, but my children were very small because I was trying to calm down or get my act together again. They understand and they so call that up. Every time they see you frustrated about something and see how you react, they're learning from you and they're going to mirror you because they love you dearly. You are their role model, you're their hero, and they want to emulate you in every way they can. So, that puts the onus on us.
Right.
We have to really be cognizant of how we handle stress in our lives. When, whenever we mess up, it is important for children to see us say, "Oh my gosh, I have just made a horrible mess. But I'm a problem solver. So I'm going to figure out how to do this, how to solve this problem. I've got to figure out exactly what the problem is. I've got to figure out what tools or resources I need. And I have to figure out what the first step is to fixing that problem. It's not the end of the world. It's no fun right now. But once I get this cleaned up, then I do get to go sit down and read my book. So children need to see us do that. They need to see us recover. Children need the opportunity to realize that, yes, it's a big job to be grown up, but it's also fun. I mean, what a gift to get to be with your children, to get to take a walk in the park or to teach them to fold the towels, make it into something, into an adventure. Oh my gosh, matching the socks. You got to spread them out in the sunshine, first of all, so you can tell what color they are. And then who can grab the most matches the fastest. So you have to make a conscious effort to make it fun, to make children realize that even though there's drudgery and mundane things that have to be dealt with, it's not bad and it helps our team be stronger. And that is what is important, is that we are in this together.
Right. And that could be a good segue into talking about maybe chores or cleaning up the room. I would love to hear your take on whether a child's room, if they have their own independent room, is it their property where they can do kind of whatever they want? Or you would still enforce certain things and expect them to clean it. What do you think about that?
There again, I would go back to your family rules, whatever your rules are. And it's important to take that time, not in a crisis moment, to have a conversation with all the adults in your home about what is really important. And I'm not talking about making sure all the Legos are picked up off the floor before you start vacuuming. I'm talking about what's really important, like that we're all safe, that we respect each other, that we are kind to each other. And you come up with 2, 3, 4, no more than 5. And that's a magic number because it all fits on one hand. But if you could just do 2, that's even better because it's fewer things to remember in a crisis. Your crisis or the child's crisis, either one. And then everything you do goes back to those elements. So in our home, for example, we're going to be safe. It's time to clean up your room. It is not safe to have all of those toys on the floor. The toys have a home. Let's put them where they belong so that we can be safe.
How does it communicate safety? Why is it not safe to have toys on the floor?
Because it's not safe if you're in a hurry and you're running out of the room to go to dinner or because the doorbell rang and you want to see what package got delivered, and you step on something, you can trip and fall. It's not safe because if you step on a toy, you may break the toy. So it's not safe for the toy either. So there's lots of ways that it's not safe. It's not safe for you to run the vacuum cleaner if you haven't picked up all the Legos, because the Legos are going to get sucked up in the vacuum cleaner and they're going to go away. You can take that rule, you can take that being safe to cleaning up. Different rule. That being safe is just one of my important rules. It doesn't have to be in your family. So you could have as your rules being respectful. In this family, we are going to respect one another. So, what does respect sound or look like in your family? In our family, respect looks like when I ask you to do something, you acknowledge that you have heard me and you do it. You fulfill what my request is. If you have a question about it, then you go back to the child with ask a better question. Do you have to clean up your whole room, or do you just have to pick up the Legos? Do you have to make sure everything is neatly tucked away in the cubby where it belongs, or do you just have to have a path to the front door? So there again, whatever you decide as your family core values, whether that might be respect one another, whether it might be showing kindness to one another, whether it's being safe within your home or with your friends or at all times, whatever. You can tie all of these things, whether it's doing your homework, whether it's cleaning your room, back to that one or two rules. If respect is your rule, and I say to you, it's time to clean your room, and you say, I don't want to, I say, I hear you, and I respect that you don't want to do that. But we have a problem. Your room needs to be picked up so that I can get the laundry collected and can vacuum. And I can't do that until all the toys are put back where they belong or the clothes are in the dirty clothes. How are we going to solve this problem together? And then you're teaching your child, one, to be a problem solver, two, to show respect, three, that they have buy in, that this is not just some arbitrary decision that you are making. You are asking them to be part of this team and to put forth the respect that you are showing to them. Of course, you have to respect them while you're doing that. Screaming, I told you to clean up your room, kind of goes back against all of that, right? Then we have to back up and say, oh, you pushed my button. I'm sorry. I apologize. That was not respectful. I'm going to ask you again respectfully. Will you please go clean up your room? Another thing to remember is that cleaning up your room is a huge, huge task. If you have a child who's resistant to cleaning up their room, I encourage you to do two things. One, be very specific in what your request is. So instead of saying clean up your room, say, please put the dolls in the doll basket, the Legos in the Lego bin, and your shoes in the closet. If you define those specific tasks, they're tangible, they're achievable. Otherwise, if you ask a child to just clean up their room, they go in and look at the mess and they're overwhelmed and they don't know where to start. And then the anxiety comes in and they start crumbling. Not because they can't clean up the room, but now because anxiety and stress have taken over and they have forgotten the real problem. So be specific when you ask them to clean up their room. With older children, you can make a checklist so that you don't have to repeat yourself every time. And so on the checklist are dirty clothes, shoes, dolls, toys, books, whatever is appropriate for your household. And then you as an adult need to decide what parameters you're willing to live with as far as cleaning up your room goes. Does cleaning up your room literally mean every single thing is put away? Or is it that cleaning up your room on Mondays means making sure the dolls are accounted for? On Tuesdays, it's making sure all the dirty laundry is in the dirty clothes because that's laundry day. On Wednesday, it's vacuuming day, so that's the day to check for Legos. So you can structure it in baby steps so that it doesn't all have to be done at once. If you want it all done at once, that's fine. You just have to be specific. Dolls, shoes, Legos, then come talk to me. And then they come back and talk to you. And then you go into their room and you say to them, okay, let's look and see what else needs to be tackled. Now that they've got that initial clutter, they can see what needs to be tackled next. So it puts them in charge. And then you negotiate. They say, oh, I need to pick up the books. And you say, you do need to pick up the books. And I see that your homework is scattered all over your bed. That needs to be in your backpack. So then together you start negotiating on the rest of the chore list. The second thing I would say about cleaning up your room is that everything needs a home. And not all children can handle all toys. So you may have a child who can handle and who thrives over that organization. The Lego box, the doll box, the truck box, the shoes on the bottom of the closet. And you may have a child who gets overwhelmed by that. If you have a child who's overwhelmed by that, then you need to give them fewer things to cause them stress and anxiety. You let them make a choice. You have a box for the trucks and a box for the Legos and a box for the dolls and a box for the Play-Doh and a box for everything. And then you say to them on Fridays, all right, it's box day. What 4 boxes do you want to choose to have in your room this next week? And they pick from all the stack of boxes that you keep in the garage or in the laundry room or wherever the stack of boxes is. They take those 4 boxes, they put them on the shelf in their room. Now they've got limited resources that they're responsible for, but they're all resources that they have chosen. In the middle of the week, they get tired of Play-Doh and they come to you and they say, I want my trucks. You say, okay, but there's not room. You've got 4 boxes. What are you going to trade? So you're getting their buy-in again. They have to set some priorities. And what a great lesson that is to teach children. So then they decide what they don't want anymore. They bring you the Play-Doh and they trade it for the trucks. So you have limited the amount of stuff to deal with. And oh my goodness, that's a life lesson, right? When my house is totally cluttered, I am so anxious and so frustrated. If I can keep that clutter organized into a minimum, life is so much easier to deal with.
What about artwork? So now we talked about different toys, but kids,
Yes.
especially small kids, like to create arts and crafts, and it's so precious to them. And they cherish every little paper, every little cutout as
It is.
a
So,
treasure.
right. And so this is really a very deep, very serious question. I'm glad you asked. So the first thing is, why is your child creating that much art? Is it because they are engrossed with the medium that they're using? Do they just love the feel of the Play-Doh? I mean, if I turn the camera around right now, you can see my piano is lined with Lego buildings, Lego constructions of all shapes and sizes. That's the sacred space right there. We are saving those things. It's important for children to know that their work is important, that their work is sacred. But it's also important to know why they're making so many things and why they want to save it. So, just like you and I have to make decisions at work about setting priorities and what's important, we help our children to set those same priorities and those same expectations as well. So, if we give them we define for the child a display space. It might be a bulletin board. It might be a particular shelf, the top of their bookshelf in their bedroom. It might be the back of their door. It might be the front of the refrigerator. But we give them a display space. They're responsible for monitoring what goes up and what comes down. So they make a new art piece, wonderful. Where are we going to put it? It goes in your display space. When your display space is full, then we have to shift to problem solver mode, right? So we've got a problem. What's the problem? I've got a new piece of art. I don't know where to put it. What do we need to do to solve that problem? Well, we either have to stack things, which we can do, or we have to take something down. What do you want to take down now? We ask the child so that you can put your new piece of artwork up there. And then when they take it down, they have another choice to make. Is this something that we want to save forever? If so, then you as the parent has a special treasure box that you put it in. Two, is this something that we can get rid of? Have you enjoyed it long enough? And if that's the case, then you have a choice to make. And that is, can we share it with someone else now? Or is it ready to go in the trash or be recycled? Sharing it with something else is a wonderful, wonderful option for art, especially if there are grandparents involved in the picture. All you have to do is put a stamp on it, drop it in the mailbox. It's out of your hair, and then you have made the grandparents' day. Truly, honest to goodness. You can deliver notes to neighbors up and down the street and bring a little sunshine into their days. And it gives the child the sense of satisfaction of knowing that their artwork is carrying the message of their love on to another body, another person, another that's important to them. But the point is, one, the child is in charge. Two, you've got a defined space, whether it's the bulletin board, the back of the door, the refrigerator, the bookshelf. And that gives you parameters to work within. If you have to also make sure that parents get dibs. So if there's a particular piece of artwork that is sacred to you, then you get to decide where that piece of artwork goes. But I always ask permission from my children first. Oh my gosh, this is a treasure. Truly, this is not. I love all of your drawings, but this one is a treasure. Could I frame this and put it in the hall so that you know that that one special treasure is going to be protected and taken care of? They actually make, and if you haven't found them, look online. They make frames nowadays that have just a door on the front of them, and you can stack children's artwork inside of them so that you can have multiple pieces of artwork stored in that one frame. But the newest piece is what's showing to the world on the outside. And I have gotten those for all of my grandchildren, and they love it because they can change it themselves. They know that the pieces that are in there are safe and are stored, and that they still have access to them.
Right. Yes, I've seen those frames, and also there are businesses where you can put it in the box, different art, even 3D art, and they'll make a
Yes,
photo book out of it, and they will recycle that art. So you basically just get back a book. And I've
exactly. And that's another great option is digitizing everything. Absolutely. The digital world is wonderful, but it's also one of my concerns with children. I don't ever I want children to have books. It's wonderful to save things digitally, but we don't want to give them another excuse to be on screen time.
Right.
So digitize it so that you have it preserved for your own reference, but then make it into a book so that they actually have a tangible book that they can turn the pages and review. It's also fun if you're making a book and you've got images of 3D things in there, then the child can tell you about making it, and you can add that to the book as well. The reason that they made it was a project for school, or it was a rainy day activity that they did with grandmother or whatever.
Yes, yes. How would you handle, though, if a child already accumulated thousands of pieces of art? So this is a good strategy moving forward to set those rules and boundaries. What
Sure.
if now me or other parents have several rooms filled with art, several closets, and storage is just overflowing, and I don't know how not to hurt my child's feelings, but I need to do
Exactly.
something about it.
So we sell our children short a lot of the time. Your child, as well as every other child out there, is going to be able to see that your house is overflowing with artwork. There is no other room to put it. And you say to her, I love this new drawing that you've made. I love this painting. Look how you've used these colors. And that praise needs to be authentic and specific, of course. But then you say, gosh, where are we going to put it? We've got a problem. We have too much artwork. Let's figure out how we can deal with all of this. And just like with anything with children, you cannot do it all at once. No, 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 no. But you start with whatever is the most important to you or to them. So you say to them, let's make a plan to deal with this. And you get 3 boxes. One of the boxes is treasures to save. One of the boxes is things that you can part with, either recycle or throw away. One of the boxes is things to share. And then you start sorting, playing cards. And you don't do it all at once. You sit down and you do a few pieces a day. But you set the expectation, and we haven't even talked about expectations yet, but you set the expectation that this week, our priority as a family is going to be to go through artwork. And so every day at a non stressful time, you sit down and you make it an event. Oh my goodness, look at this picture. I remember when you drew it. Do you remember it was raining that day and we had gone to the grocery store and we came home and whatever, whatever, whatever. But you remember it together and you make it an event. And now we have a decision to make. Is that a save? Is that a don't need to save? Is that a give it away or send it on or recycle it? Once your save it box gets full, then you just start talking logistics with older children. You start saying, if we save every single one of these actual pieces of paper, we're not going to have a place to sleep because the house is going to be full of these. What are some things that we could do? Could we digitize some of them and turn them into a book? If we did that, then we wouldn't have to keep this particular piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
So you involve them in the process. You keep your parameters the same. You set the expectation and you make an event out of it. You very much let them buy into it. Then you're giving them choice in the matter. I want to say one more time that it's important to know why your child is being so prolific. If art is the way that they are coping with stress or anxiety in the world, then you need to approach things differently, obviously. than if they're just doodlers and they doodle on every single piece of paper. So it's important to know why your child is involved so heavily or so deeply in expressing themselves artistically. I want to
Yes.
make sure that that point is in there.
Right. I think in my particular case, my daughter feels very accomplished. She believes she's a fantastic artist. And
She is. I've seen her
yes,
art.
thank you. So she feels this is one of her strengths and she feels very confident. So she wants to practice what she's good at, singing and making art. It kind of reinforces her self beliefs,
Self
boosts her
confidence.
self
Yes.
confidence. Yeah.
Absolutely. I understand that. So now we want it, it still does not help. We don't want to take that away from her. Absolutely not. We want to help her start to be intentional about her artwork. So when she sits down to draw, we say to her, I wonder if this is going to be a treasure that you're going to keep. I wonder if this is going to be something that you're going to share, or you're just doing this for fun. She might be able to make that determination right from the outset before she even starts. There are days when we can do that, when we just know we need to doodle. We just need to scribble a little bit. She may not be able to do that until she has the piece finished. But she's going to learn from your guidance, from the words that you use, that her artwork is going to fall into different categories. And then once she realizes what those categories are, then you'll be able to better deal with it in a way that you know is effective and that is going to both reinforce her and still make your life manageable.
Right. Oh, I love it. I can't wait to try this strategy. And also, what was a new insight for me is something to share.
I would encourage parents
Mhm.
to understand how important being consistent is in everything. And that takes lots of time and energy on the parents' part ahead of time. But being consistent is critical, especially if you have a child who has a learning difference or who is anxious or who is easily stressed. Routines are absolutely critical. Even if that means that the parent has to give up some of their fun spontaneity, it's only temporary for 10 or 12 or 15 years. We have to give our children that consistency. We have to give them routines. I cannot tell you, I cannot over what's the word I'm trying to use here? I cannot tell you how important consistency and routine is for children. It empowers them to be proactive. It allows them to get a mindset for what's coming next and to prepare themselves emotionally, mentally, physically for whatever that action or that event is. It allows them to organize their thoughts and their bodies so that they can respond appropriately. If we are not consistent, if we are unpredictable, we undermine all of those things we are trying to teach our children. If we have no routine, then our children are grasping at straws. They're frustrated because they don't know what is expected next. So the more consistent you can be, the more routine you can instill into your daily life, the better it will be for our children. I'm not saying that you need to structure every minute of your child's day. That is not what I'm saying. Children need freedom in their lives. They need to be bored. And that's a whole minute right there that you could put. Children need to experience what being bored feels like. we live in a world where we are bombarded with things constantly, and our brains don't know what it feels like to be still. Our brains need being still so that they can process and can store things in long-term memory. So our children need to learn to be bored. They need to be able to be comfortable feeling that. And then they need to figure out how to get themselves out of being bored as well by being creative. But definitely we need to work on having routines in our lives and being consistent. In my life, it works beautifully with children to set very clear expectations. With younger children, I like to say that we have must do's and may do's in our lives. Must do's are the things that are non negotiable. You must brush your teeth. May do's are things that you can do if you choose, but you've got to be sure your must do's are done first. So must do's are health and safety. They're things that make our families, our classrooms run efficiently. They're things that we know our children need. A must do could be taking your medication. You can take it a million different ways, but you've got to take your medication. Must do's might be making your bed. And we don't make beds just so your room looks neat. I could give you a whole 15-minute spill on the organization, the body organization, the motor aspects of making your bed and how beneficial that is for children. Crossing your midline, using your core muscles, all of that sort of thing. But making your bed in my family was a must do. We had to do that every day. May do's could be fun things, but they could also just be things that enrich our lives or that aren't totally necessary. So must do's and may do's.
Love it. Thank you so much. That was so insightful. Thank you. Thank you.